Hello, I'd like to welcome you to my field experience summary. My name is Chris Morrison. I created a PowerPoint that highlights some of the major activities that I did throughout the fall 2013 semester. And also throughout the PowerPoint, I will take you to several documents that I created for some of the different activities I was participating in, and also take you to the Shikellamy High School guidance website, which was one of my first activities that I was participating in. Back in the spring of 2013, I was taking another course through Lock Haven, and it also required a field experience. And through a discussion with my mentor, who was the current vice principal of the high school, she mentioned that the school district has received many complaints about our guidance website and how outdated it was. So she thought it'd be a good idea for me to focus on updating the guidance website. And our web page design is something that I am familiar with because I have my own web page through the school district. So I decided that would be a good topic for me to focus on in the spring. And knowing that in the fall I was going to continue with the field experience for this course, I knew that the website would be something I could continue to work on throughout the summer and eventually finish during the fall semester. So as I started, I first started with our web page and found that many of the website pages were outdated as far back as 2003, and really it was a site that was not useful. There was not information on there. It wasn't current information. When I checked to find out dates about the SATs, the date was for the year 2010. It really just lacked a lot of information that students and parents could find useful. So when I began my research, I looked at many districts' websites across the state and also looked at different districts across the nation to see what kind of information they include on their guidance website. So I created a good number of new sections on their web page to help provide information to the parents and students. And I also created with some of the web pages new electronic forms that can be easily accessed from the internet by parents and students. Some can be completed electronically on the internet and submitted. Other ones can be downloaded, printed, and then filled out by hand and turned into the high school. So here's a list of some of the new pages that I created for the guidance website. Some of the major ones, the bullying prevention webpage, that's a brand new page that many districts have information about bullying prevention and the policies of the school district. Our district did not, and until I finalized that page, which wasn't until September of 2013, you could not have gone on to our website anywhere in the district and found information about how the school deals with bullying and what kind of prevention strategies they use. So that is one of those pages that I really feel is important, and it will eventually lead to the creation of a new committee that I'll talk about later during the PowerPoint. I also created a Keystone testing page, which provides the dates for Keystone testing. It also provides practice exams for Keystone testing, current up-to-date PSAT and SAT dates, a web page devoted to important forms for students and parents. They can go onto this web page, click, download forms, print them, fill them out, and also a college planning page, which provides a list of websites that will help students do college searches and narrow down the type of profession they may want to do after they graduate. A scholarships page, which has all the current scholarships that are being offered by the high school and other businesses and organizations throughout the community. Financial planning, career planning, Sun Area Technical Institute, and also the NCAA eligibility page. Now what I'm going to do right now is take you to the web page that I designed. So this is the main page when you click on the guidance website. And when I was designing the web page, my main thought was this needs to be a page that is easily accessible to the parents and students, and also it provides information that is important to them. So when you look over on the left side, here are all the different links for the different web pages that are included. But even just on the home page itself, before students would access this page and all they would find would be Welcome to Shikellamy High School Guidance Department, it had a list of the guidance counselors, but new students to the school, they did not have any visual on who the guidance counselors were. And also, our guidance counselors, they break the students based on the alphabet. So, for example, Linda Wilhauer, she has students A through G. Students accessing the website, they would have no way of knowing who their guidance counselor was, besides just looking on their schedule. So that is there, and also there's a phone number for each of them that they can be contacted at the school. On the left side, some of the pages: the student assistance team, bullying prevention, the counseling services, and just maybe I'll click on one of them for you. I'll click on the student assistance team. Now, student assistance team, it provides a summary of what exactly this is and what's the main goal of the student assistance team, which is a lot of reading for a parent or a student, but it explains what exactly the point of the team is. But as you get towards the bottom is where some of these electronic forms that I have created are placed, and there's two sets of forms: educators and an educator form and a student form. So if an educator feels they have a student who is struggling academically or socially, all they would have to do is to click on the form and it opens up. Now at this point this is a form that they would need to print off and complete by hand and then turn into the high school guidance office, but the form's right there. And there's also a form down here for students who may know of a friend or another student who's struggling. They click on it, they open it up, they print it, they fill it out, and they can hand it in. And that's something that they did not have anything like that on the website prior to me creating the forms. And just maybe a couple other ones here: the SAT dates, because SATs, it explains what the SATs are, and also has some links to different things about the SATs. And if you click on this link here, it takes you to the SAT testing site, which gives you the dates. And when you go to one of the college planning site, I provided a website that is great for parents and students to find out about colleges and careers. And also there are several links on this page as well. Students who need to request transcripts can click on this form. Okay, and when it opens, you are able to electronically complete it and send it in, and then you will get your transcripts sent to you. There are some other websites here that students can use to help search for colleges as well. So this is one of the biggest commitments I had throughout the spring, summer, and fall of 2013, which I began with a different course, but I ended up finishing during the fall 2013 field experience. And just based on finishing it over the summer, the current middle school principal, who was my former mentor, she said that the high school has received several calls already about parents being happy about how updated the guidance website is. So when I heard that, that made me feel good that the work that I did is being recognized by others, and it's becoming a useful website to them. So that is my first activity. Now the second one is the Social Studies Curriculum Committee. This also began during the previous semester, during the spring of 2013. Our Director of Education wanted to do a Social Studies curriculum review. We have an upcoming Keystone Civics exam, which is planned for May of 2017. So she knew that we needed to look at our courses to see if we're aligned properly to the PA Common Core and the academic standards. So I volunteered to be a part of the committee along with another 5 or 6 teachers. And the main thing that we started to look at was, where do we need to place our civics and government course? Because currently right now it's at the 12th grade level, which will not work for the 2017 Keystone exam because it needs to be placed before, either on the junior year or before the junior year, so that it will count for AYP. So the teachers and the Director of Education met to discuss the changes in the sequence of courses, and throughout the spring and into the fall, the decision was made to move the civics and government course to the junior year, so to ensure that it will be counted towards our AYP. Now, also another thing that we did during the curriculum committee was we looked at the current curriculum for the school district for social studies and compared it to the PA Common Core and the PA academic standards. And really what we were looking for was any sort of gaps in the curriculum and instruction. And what we found is there are many parts of the Common Core and academic standards that we cover and we teach, but that we also found there were some gaps. So I think it opened the eyes to many of the teachers of, well, we do this, but we don't do that. So we know there are the things that we need to change, and this is a committee that is continuing throughout the rest of this school year and the next school year. Another area for this was discussion of the AP scores. Our AP scores need to improve. We have, for AP Euro this past year, we had 43% of our students pass it, and I believe 19 students took the exam. For the AP American, I think our number was down to like 14% of the students passed it, and that had close to 40-some students in it. So we discussed some of the issues with the AP courses, and the belief is the course is not rigorous enough, and we also need to find ways to decide what students should be in AP courses, because there are some students getting in the AP courses that should not be in there, and we talked about different ways to select students using data. So that was one other focus that we have been talking about with the curriculum committee. Now, part of the curriculum committee, I also created a course transition plan for this school year into next school year. So I'll take you to this and I'll show you exactly what I created. Now, currently, this is how our courses are set up with our 4 years of high school. And what we need to do is to move the senior social studies class, which is the government economics, we need to move that down to the junior year. And so what I created was a transition plan, because the director of education, she wants to begin implementing the changes next year during the 2014-15 school year. So the transition plan shows how we would begin to move certain courses around to make sure that all students are going to receive the 4 different levels of social studies curriculum for the high school, but we need to begin to transition students or transition the American government class from senior year to junior year. So I created a transition plan for the committee to look at and emailed the committee with the transition plan so that everybody had a chance to view it and to make any comments or or discuss questions about what exactly we're going to be planning on doing. Okay, so the curriculum committee is a continuing one, which I will continue to participate in throughout the rest of the school year and into next year until the director of education feels that it is time that we can cease the committee. Now, another area I took upon myself to become more skilled in during the fall semester was PVOS. During the 2012-2013 school year, we had 2 professional development days on PVOS training, and the honest truth is I could not navigate that website. Somebody opened up in front of me and said, there you go. It was, the professional development was poorly planned. It was like a mass lecture with all the teachers in the building sitting around with laptops trying to navigate data. So I searched the PVOS website and found that they offer many modules that you can watch online. They have they have a number of webinars that you're able to participate in. So throughout the fall semester, I participated in 4 or 5 modules and webinars to help familiarize myself with PVOS. As a future administrator, PVOS is going to be very important to understanding data and how data can be used to help school improvement and student achievement as well. After each online webinar module, I created a summary of what the module stated, and I also provided a reflection for myself on what I feel the impact of the PVOS module would be for a school administrator. When I become a school administrator, one of the things I think will be a focus is going to be professional development. I've been teaching now, this is my 11th year, and it's hard even to remember a professional development day that really had a huge impact on my teaching. And I think PVOS is a great website for teachers, but many teachers, when you hear the word data, they turn away because they don't understand it. but it's essential for student improvement to occur. So I think PVOS training is something that, as an administrator, I will ensure that teachers become familiar with PVOS and know how to use the data to help change their instruction and improve student achievement. Now, we have another committee that I became part of is the dining committee. In our school district, we have had recent changes to our food service due to some of the federal regulations, and students have not been very receptive to some of the changes. And the main idea behind the dining committee was to create a committee with students, teachers, administrators, and the food service director to discuss some of the problems that students may have and some of the regulations that the students do not understand that the food service director must follow. So we've had three meetings at this point from the beginning of the school year, and we've been talking about, how do we proceed with making changes to the selection of food and what students like and what they don't like, and also what can the food service director actually do, because there's only so much he's allowed to do in relation to the regulations that the federal government imposes upon him. So as part of the committee, I discussed with the students the idea of creating a survey to start with, because there were about 6 or 7 students in the food service committee. The school has almost 1,000. So it's a very small selection, but we need to start somewhere. So I asked the students, do you think a survey might be a good way to start? And they agreed. So I told them that I would be happily willing to do the investigation into food service survey questions. So I accessed the internet and went to several different universities and different school districts and accessed their surveys that they used to gauge the students' satisfaction with the dining service. So right now I'll take you to the survey that I created. So at our second meeting I made a copy of the survey for all the students and all the teachers and administrators who were there. And the main objective is to have this survey distributed to the students for them to answer. And once they answer it, then we have an idea of what are some of the things that students are satisfied with and what are some of the things that they are not satisfied with. So the students looked at the survey, and I told them that this was not a final survey. They had the option of taking questions off or removing questions. So as of right now, this is the survey that we're using. And the plan is, when we return from Thanksgiving break, is that the survey is going to be copied and then distributed to students in social studies classes for them to complete. Once the students complete the surveys, we will compile the information and data, and then at that point meet again to discuss, what are some of the main ideas that we can take from the surveys, from what the students are happy about and what are the things students are not happy about. The dining committee is a committee that some people, when they heard about it, teachers as well, they thought, really, what's the importance of a dining committee? Students are going to come in, they eat food, and that's what they do. But it was one of those ideas that I thought about, and I knew from previous readings throughout the master's program that a school is not only what happens in the classroom. Instruction is a huge part of making a school effective, but students need to feel good about the school. They need to feel like they have a positive perception of the school. And if students aren't happy about the food that they're being served, that gives them a negative impression of the school, and that can negatively affect their achievement. So even something like the dining committee, I think it goes a long way in showing what the administrators and what teachers are willing to do to work with students to better their feeling towards the school that they belong to. So this is another committee that we will continue to work on throughout this year, and to begin seeing what changes will be implemented for the next school year. As I began the fall semester and began thinking about the different ways to accumulate hours for the field experience, one of the options I thought of right away was doing the before and after school bus duty. Last year, we had support staff who would supervise students in the cafeteria before and after school. Due to district cutbacks, we lost support staff. So the principal and vice principal, who were both new to the school, really were not aware that we needed people to be supervising the students in the cafeteria before and after school. So I talked to the principal at the beginning of the year and said that I would be willing to supervise the students. And our school day begins at 7:30. Most students begin arriving close to 7:15. So each day I walk down the cafeteria and spend 15 minutes before school supervising students, and then after school, when we are dismissed at 2:40, I leave my room and walk down to where the students are picked up for bus duty, and that takes about another 15 minutes. About a half hour a day I was spending supervising students entering the building and leaving the building. And this is one of these areas that it's a big time commitment, especially for a teacher, because in the morning those 15 minutes are valuable and the 15 minutes after school are valuable to me for planning. But as an administrator, it's something that must be acknowledged, that students must have supervision at all times throughout the day, whether it's before school, during school, or after school. And unfortunately, because of our cutbacks, we did not have teachers available to supervise before or after school. And plus, because of the teacher's contract, teachers are not required to do any sort of supervision prior to 7:30. So there was a 15-minute period where really they could not ask a teacher to do it. But because of the field experience, I knew that was an opportunity for me to show leadership and supervise students. So that was one of the main things I did every day. And it was one of those obligations that even on days when I knew I may have a student coming after school, I had to work around the bus duty, because you can't leave kids unsupervised. And that's something that, as an administrator, it must be acknowledged that you cannot have students without any any adult supervision, because that's when bad things can happen, when there's no one watching. So I have continued to work on doing supervision, and even once the course is through, I'm still planning on working on doing supervision before and after school, just as a way to continue my leadership within the building. So it was an activity that maybe some don't see as all that important to the actual effectiveness of the school, but it really is something that, without supervision and a safe and orderly school, is essential. So having supervision is very important. Okay, now throughout the semester, there were several different activities I did for professional development. Probably the largest one was I joined the Association for the Supervision and Curriculum Development. And the benefit of joining that organization was you get weekly emails. They're almost daily emails, but I don't think they're quite daily. And they will send you a link to a web page, and it has many articles that you can access about student leadership, educational leadership, technology in the classroom. So one of the things I did was I did a lot of reading during the early part of the fall semester to educate myself on some of the educational initiatives happening throughout the country and within my own state. Also, Keystone exam training. Our Keystone windows are coming in January 2014. All teachers must be trained to administer the Keystone exams. So that was a professional development module that needed to be completed, and when the module was done, then everyone had to pass the exam. Also, there is the mandated reporting for child abuse, which is another set of online modules that teachers and every employee within the school district must watch and complete the test at the end of the module. So these are examples of professional development that helps continue my education about the requirements of an administrator, because the Keystone exam training, the mandated reporting for child abuse, these aren't optional. These are trainings that must be completed by any teacher, and in the mandated reporting for child abuse, any employee of the district must complete the training. And it's just something that you must be aware of as a school leader, that when things are required by the state or federal government, they're not optional. You must have everybody do it. And so right now, currently, our school district, we are working on completing the mandated reporting for child abuse, which must be completed by December 31st, 2013. Now, I'm also taking right now course EDLD 650 with Dr. Jessica Hawsley, and part of that course is a creation of a curriculum project. So this is a project I was working on with our director of education. And when I began talking to her about options, she mentioned talking about the Keystone exams. We have a remediation course for Algebra 1 and Biology 1 for students who did not achieve proficiency on the Keystone exam. So one of the things that she wanted to investigate was, is there a way to create a criteria for what students need to be included in these remediation courses? Because the issue that exists currently is there's only 120 seats available for remediation, but typically there are over 120 students who do not achieve proficiency. So she needed to figure out, how can we create a system in which the students that really need remediation are the ones included in the course, and the ones that maybe are closer to proficiency, is there another way that we can put them into Algebra 2, which would be the next course for them, and not in remediation, but still help them become proficient on the next exam. And then this was another major time commitment, which totaling close to 60 hours of work to complete this project. And the system I developed is a system based on using Keystone exam results and the grade from the academic course the students completed for that year. And pretty much what I was able to do is to create a formula to say, okay, well, if the student scored a 1486 on their Keystone Algebra 1 exam, and they ended up with a 83 in the academic course, through a percentage for each score, there's a certain number set, and if a student's between those two scores, if that number meets their minimum requirement, then that would be a student that we would not put in remediation, but that would be a student that instead we would look at doing tutoring with, to help them get the skills needed to become proficient. One of the big issues that I found during the curriculum project was an ethical issue that I discussed with the director of education. What I found was, you have 120 seats, and I think we had close to 160 students that were basic or below basic. So when I talked to her, I said, the issue that I see is, do you focus on the top performing basic students and put them in remediation, because they're the ones that have the greatest chance of becoming proficient and helping the school meet the AYP? So out of 160 students, we'd say, okay, we're going to take the top 120 and the bottom 40. Well, you're still getting pushed into Algebra 2, but you're not going to get remediation. And it was just an issue I talked to the director about, and I talked to guidance counselors and math teachers, and I talked to the high school principal, and no one really had a true system to say how you should select students to put into remediation, because looking at where the school is, we need to meet AYP. We've struggled in the past with our math scores on the PSSAs and the Keystones. So by selecting the top 120, you're kind of leaving the bottom 40. You're pretty much setting them up for failure, putting them into Algebra 2 when they struggled with Algebra 1. The other system would be to take the bottom 120 students and place them in remediation. The issue is your top 40 out of the basic group, they're not going to receive the remediation they may need to push them in the proficient category. So it was one of these dilemmas I found as I was beginning to work on the project, and really there was not a solution to it. Now the the system that we ended up developing is the system that really focuses on the bottom 120 and getting them into remediation, because the thought is, every student deserves an equal education, and the top 40 students who were not going to receive the remediation, they were going to be given a different type of remediation through after school tutoring or during school tutoring. So the curriculum project is really another activity that I did I think is going to have a lasting impact, because the remediation for Algebra 1 is something that's going to be staying as long as the Keystones are staying, and as far as it seems, the Keystones are here to stay. Now, we had 2 new administrators enter our high school this year, a new principal and a new vice principal, and as they entered the high school, there were some bumpy times that started the year, especially when it came to discipline. The last 10 years in our high school, we've had 2 administrators who had a pretty stern discipline style. So if a teacher wrote up a student, you knew that they were going to be disciplined. The 2 new administrators, they did not necessarily follow the discipline procedures that the teachers were used to. So we had a lot of students being written up, but not any discipline being delivered, and teachers were unhappy. So at a faculty meeting, the teachers voiced their concern, and the principal offered the opportunity to create a discipline committee. So I volunteered to be part of the discipline committee with another 8 teachers and the principal and vice principal. So we've met 3 times since the beginning of the year. And at our last meeting, one of the things we discussed was creating a document to clarify some of the procedures so that all teachers understood what exactly the discipline procedures are. I created the outline. Everybody in the group kind of they looked at me and asked if I'd be willing to create it, and I told them I would be willing to do so. So I created a 2-page document outlining the different disciplinary procedures. Now, we have a faculty meeting coming up on Thursday, December 5th. The document was emailed to all the teachers and staff, and I directed them to look at it and review it, and if they have any questions, to email me the questions or bring the questions to the faculty meetings that we're prepared to answer them. Now, this isn't the end of the discipline committee. It's another committee that we're going to continue throughout the year. What we thought was we're going to start small. We focus on 3 or 4 major issues, and these are the issues we're going to go after first and clarify. So I'm going to take you to the document now so you can see the disciplinary procedure outline that I created. Now, what it is, we focused on some of the student discipline issues, such as if a student cuts your class. So what I did, I went through each of the different forms that we have for class cuts and did a step-by-step procedure on these are the things that you need to do if a student cuts your class, what forms to hand in, why you must hand this form in. So the document explains as detailed as I could make it what to do if a student cuts your class. We have a couple different forms to fill out if for classroom discipline, such as for abusive language, electronic misuse of devices. So it really is a step-by-step, this is what to do. And I emailed this to the committee members first for them to preview it and give me any suggestions to make changes. So as of now, this is the document that has been sent out to the high school staff members, including the principal and vice principal. And coming up next week when we return from break, I will be presenting the document to the faculty at the faculty meeting and taking any questions they may have about it. The discipline committee is really important. Teachers in my school at the beginning of the year, they just were not very happy. They just did not feel that the 2 new administrators were following through with the discipline they wanted, and I think any administrator will tell you that if you do not have a happy staff, okay, the school is not going to function the way that you want it to. And an administrator doesn't always have to do what their faculty ask them to do, but in the case of this issue with discipline, the frustration level was becoming part of the classroom, and you could tell teachers were just visibly upset. So the principal, he decided to create the discipline committee, and I thought it was a great idea for him to step in and take leadership for an issue that the teachers felt we had. And the vice principal has been involved because she's the one who's mainly active with the discipline for the students. So I'm very happy with what we're doing right now, because this will have a major impact on the school. It'll have an impact on the students, and it'll have an impact on the teachers. And hopefully what we have been working on will end up being positive, and teachers will feel like the school is being taken back by the teachers and by the administrators, and that students are not, running the hallways and not being disciplined for the problems that they are involved in and the infractions they are committing. The last page includes some other activities that I completed throughout the fall semester: chaperoning school dances, attending faculty meetings, parent-teacher conferences, and student conferences. The faculty meetings, we've had 3 or 4 since the beginning of the school year, and throughout the faculty meetings, I had the opportunity to observe the administrators and their interaction with the faculty in discussing the different issues and different activities that are taking place. We held parent-teacher conferences for the first time in the high school. So I had a total of 12 parents who I made arrangements with to have meetings, and they came in, and they were 15 to 20 minute meetings that we talked about the student. And the last one are the student conferences that I was able to sit in on. One of the students was a student that I have in class who was struggling academically. The other was a student I did not have, but I was able to sit in through talking with the vice principal. And the different conferences give me the opportunity to understand leadership and how when meetings occur, the role that the different leaders have within the conference. So that is it. I've summarized the main activities I did throughout the fall semester. I really feel it was a great experience. A lot of leadership opportunities exist for teachers who are looking to become school leaders, and I was lucky to have administrators and other teachers who were willing to work with me. So thank you, and have a good day.